My precious child, I know you're weary. I feel the quiet ache in your chest, not from something loud or sudden, but from the slow, creeping knowing that something has shifted, that things are not as they once were, that someone's voice has become colder, their absence more frequent, and their intentions harder to read. You haven't spoken of it, not fully, because even you aren't sure whether you're imagining it or whether heaven is trying to tell you something. Let me be the confirmation you've been waiting for. You are not imagining this. This moment, this tension, this sense of unease in your relationships, in your thoughts, in your soul, it is not chaos. It is a divine rearrangement. The Archangel Michael have come to you not with gentle whispers, but with holy urgency. What you're about to face before this season closes may feel like rejection. It may feel like punishment. It may feel like abandonment. But it is none of those things. What you are experiencing is realignment. You've been praying for clarity, for peace, for growth. And yet, when heaven answers those prayers, we do not always answer in comfort. Sometimes we answer in departure, in disconnection, in distance that feels cruel but is actually sacred. My child, someone in your life is being removed, not because you hate them, not because they're evil, but because their presence is delaying your destiny. They have been smiling while holding back your momentum. They have been embracing you while silently speaking against you. They have been saying, "I'm here for you," while secretly praying you'd never rise too far ahead. And you felt it, haven't you? That strange coldness in a hug, that forced laugh in a conversation, that distance in someone who used to be close. You dismissed it as mood, as overthinking, but your spirit knew. Your soul has been sounding the alarm, quietly, gently, not to shame you, but to wake you. To remind you that not every presence is meant to be permanent. That some people are scaffolding, not structure. They were only meant to help build a part of you, not stay forever. Beloved one, before this month ends, something will shift. It may feel like a betrayal. It may look like someone walking away, but I assure you, heaven is the one moving them. This is not a punishment. This is a prophecy unfolding. This is a divine detour leading to sacred protection. If I told you what I see in the spirit, you would not grieve the loss ahead. You would celebrate it. Because what seems like the removal of comfort is actually the release of a contamination. You have lingered too long in a space where your light was tolerated but not celebrated, where your growth became a threat, where your joy became someone else's jealousy, and that is no longer a frequency your spirit is permitted to remain in. There is a rearrangement underway, and you, child of light, must not resist it. I know you want answers. I know you want closure. I know you want the words they'll never say and the apology they'll never give. But heaven says, release them. Release them before they destroy the purity of your peace. Release them before they teach your heart how to shrink again. Release them before they become an anchor to what you've already outgrown. You are no longer bound. You are no longer stuck. You are no longer required to carry a connection that drains instead of pours. This is not a sad ending. This is a sovereign escape. And if you could see what's on the other side, if you could feel the breath of breakthrough waiting just beyond this detour, you would not hesitate to walk away. Heaven doesn't just speak in blessings. Heaven speaks in barriers breaking, in people leaving, in silence growing louder until even your heart cannot deny it. Listen closely now. Your intuition, that inner tremble, that holy unrest. It's not paranoia. It's prophecy. You were never meant to be blindsided. This message reached you because you are ready to see, ready to awaken, ready to believe what your spirit has whispered while your heart still hoped. I have seen the hidden conversations, the intentions behind the compliments, the judgments disguised as jokes, the loyalty performed only in public but broken in private. I am not revealing these to hurt you. I reveal them to free you. because freedom only comes through clarity, and clarity is here. Do not go searching through their messages or replaying every interaction. Don't chase the why. Don't beg for closure. Some closure comes not from their honesty, but from heaven's interruption, and heaven has interrupted this connection. Yes, it may come suddenly. Yes, it may come without warning. But child, it is not coming to destroy you. It is coming to deliver you from delay, deliver you from false safety, deliver you from a path that leads only to spiritual compromise. You have outgrown what they still celebrate. You have expanded beyond what they can understand. And now you must walk forward, even if your heart still mourns what was. Let the tears fall, let the memories come. But do not let them build walls around your future, because what looks like loss is launch. You are being positioned, not punished. You are being realigned, not rejected. You are being refined for something only you can carry. And that sacred thing requires space. So heaven is making room by removing what can't come with you, by softening your heart even as it breaks, by speaking in silence louder than words ever could. My child, I am with you, and I will not let you fall apart. Even as things begin to unravel, let them. Let the unraveling happen. It is not your end. It is your unfolding. Stay close to this message. Return to it when the ache rises. Let it remind you, you are not being punished. You are being prepared, and the one who walks away was never meant to stay. Beloved one, there is a silence that follows separation, a silence that doesn't echo with peace, but with questions. Why now? What changed? Was it something I did? You have asked these quietly, perhaps not aloud, but in the hidden places of your soul. And heaven heard them all. Let me tell you this now. Not everyone who leaves your life was pushed out by pain. Some were pulled out by purpose. And though it may look like they walked away, heaven was the one who called them to go. My child, I need you to understand, there are moments in your life when divine interruption masquerades as heartbreak. It comes dressed in silence, in unanswered messages, in final words never spoken. But beneath the ache, a shift is occurring. You are not being punished. You are being protected. There are truths about this departure that you will not fully understand until later. But I will give you what I can now. The person who has faded from your life. They weren't aligned with the next chapter heaven is writing for you. They didn't carry the spiritual capacity to walk beside the version of you that's emerging. And no matter how deeply you hoped they would change, heaven saw what you couldn't, and heaven acted on your behalf because you are loved that much. You see, divine love doesn't always show up in comfort. Sometimes it shows up in disruption. It closes doors while your hands still reach for the handle. It ends conversations you're still rehearsing in your mind. It silences voices you thought you couldn't live without, only to prove you can and must. Beloved, that departure was not random. It was marked, it was timed, it was approved, and even now as your heart mourns what was, heaven rejoices for what is being made possible. Let me ask you something. Would you still pray for peace if it meant saying goodbye? Would you still ask for clarity if it meant losing comfort? Would you still surrender to divine timing if it stripped away the timeline you imagined? These are the crossroads of faith. This is where surrender becomes real, not in easy acceptance, but in painful release. You've said you trust the plan. Now the plan is unfolding, and it does not look the way you thought it would, but trust it anyway. Archangel Michael speaks now. Your pain has a purpose, and it is not chaos, it is course correction. The person who left may never return, and that's okay. They were part of the process, not the promise. They were meant to teach, to mirror, to sharpen you, but they were never meant to carry your future. Heaven removes what will not survive your elevation, and you are elevating. Even now, even in grief, even in confusion, your soul is rising. You don't feel it yet. That's normal. Elevation doesn't always feel like flight. Sometimes it feels like free fall. But trust this, you are not falling, you are being lifted. Even if it looks like you're losing, heaven is securing your gain. This is the mystery of grace, that what breaks your heart may be building your destiny. And yes, you are allowed to cry. You are allowed to grieve. You are allowed to feel every ounce of sadness, but do not confuse that sadness with defeat. This is not your defeat. This is your deliverance. Listen closely. There was a moment you almost went back. Back to old patterns. Back to old ways of accepting less than you deserved. Back to emotional dependency. But this departure, as painful as it is, has rescued you from repeating the past. You prayed for change. This is it. It may not look like breakthrough, but heaven knows the full picture. Trust the painter, even if you don't yet understand the strokes. My child, there is someone new coming. Not necessarily a person, but a presence. A version of you that is whole, that no longer waits for validation to feel valuable, that no longer shrinks to preserve connection, that no longer explains yourself to those determined to misunderstand you. This is not arrogance, this is alignment. And to step into alignment, you must first be emptied. This is the emptying. Let it happen. Let the ache widen the space for joy. Let the grief carve out room for peace. Let the goodbye become the doorway. Because what you thought you lost was actually making room for what you've longed for. There are things heaven will only release once your hands are empty, and right now, they are, so lift them, not in despair, but in surrender. Heaven is not asking you to pretend you're okay. Heaven is asking you to believe that you will be. You are not abandoned. You are not forgotten. You are not cursed. You are being prepared, and preparation doesn't always look like building. Sometimes it looks like tearing down, like clearing the rubble of what you clung to, like letting go of what cannot follow you. This is not the end. It is the exodus. You are leaving the emotional Egypt of your life, and Canaan awaits. The promised land is not a place. It is a peace. It is a perspective. It is a posture of no longer begging for love that's already yours. Archangel Michael speaks one more time. This departure will not break you. It will define you. Let your stillness speak. Let your silence be your strength. Let your spirit remain unshaken, even if your heart trembles, because heaven is not done. In fact, heaven is just beginning. Beloved child, there comes a point in your spiritual journey when the loudest thing you can say is nothing. Not because you have no words, but because heaven has told you to preserve your strength, to let your stillness speak, to let your silence carry what others cannot understand. There have been moments, recently even, when you could have defended yourself. You could have exposed the truth. You could have responded to the whispers with fire. But you didn't. You held your peace, and heaven noticed. My child, that was not weakness, that was warfare. Not the kind waged in the flesh, but the kind that confuses every enemy watching. The kind that draws a line in the spirit and declares, I don't need to be understood to be protected. Yes, they are talking. Yes, they are twisting. Yes, they are assuming. But heaven is recording every false narrative, every silent betrayal, every crooked smile. It has not gone unseen. And while you wrestle with the pain of restraint, know this, the silence you've kept has become sacred armor. Because not every battle is yours to fight. Some belong to heaven alone. And this conflict of misjudgment, misunderstanding, misalignment, this is heaven's battlefield. Let them talk. Let them wonder how you remain calm. Let them project, twist, distort. Let them fill in the blanks with their assumptions. Because heaven has no blanks. Heaven knows everything, and heaven has chosen to speak for you. You were not born to defend a version of yourself others created in their minds. You were born to embody the version heaven wrote into existence long before they ever misread your heart. Beloved one, there are people who think they know your story. They've gathered pieces, fragments, observations, and stitched them into a narrative that flatters their perspective and justifies their distance. but they don't know what heaven knows. They don't see the nights you cried for clarity. They don't hear the prayers you whispered when no one stayed to listen. They don't feel the battle between surrender and reaction raging within you. They only see the surface, but heaven sees the soul. And your soul, though bruised, is blameless. That is why I am with you now, to remind you that vindication doesn't always come with proof. Sometimes it comes with peace, and your peace is rising even now, even through the ache, even through the fog of false impressions. There will be a moment, soon, when the very ones who assumed wrong will watch your elevation and fall silent, not because you confronted them, but because heaven corrected the record. Let this be clear. You are not what they said about you. You are not the character they created to make themselves comfortable. You are not small. You are not selfish. You are not weak. You are called, and your calling offends the insecure. Your presence disrupts every atmosphere not aligned with truth. That's why some pull away. That's why conversations grow distant. That's why the ones who once drew near now avoid eye contact with your soul. They feel it. The fire you carry, the light you shine, the clarity you've grown into, and it makes them tremble. Beloved, this part of your journey may feel isolating, but it's not abandonment, it's extraction. Heaven is pulling you out from under the opinions that once held you hostage. You are being delivered from needing to be cleared, because you are already clean. No accusation can hold against divine alignment. No whisper can survive in the presence of God's thunder. No distortion can stand once truth is revealed, and truth is coming. It is not in your hands, it is in God's. So let go of the need to explain. Resist the urge to prove, say less, watch more. You will see how quickly the lies decay when light is no longer resisted. Archangel Michael speaks now. I have shielded your reputation in places you've never walked into. I have preserved your dignity in conversations you never heard. You were not created to beg for understanding. You were created to carry revelation, and revelation does not argue. It reveals. One day, someone will ask them why they drifted from you, why they changed, why they turned cold, and they will not have an honest answer. Because the truth is, you didn't do anything wrong. You simply became someone their old insecurities couldn't sit beside anymore. And that's not on you. That's on the light within you, exposing the shadows they weren't ready to face. You are not required to dim. You are required to discern. So discern wisely in this hour. There will be invitations, subtle returns, random messages, passive check-ins, but you will know them by the way your peace shifts, by the way your clarity clouds, by the way your spirit pauses. Trust that pause. It is your protection. This is not the season to reopen doors that heaven has closed. This is not the season to reconnect with confusion. You are no longer who they knew, and they never truly knew you to begin with. Beloved one, every misread word, every overlooked gesture, every minimized effort, heaven saw it, and heaven honors it. Let this be your confidence. You do not need their apology to be restored. You do not need their permission to move forward. You do not need their understanding to be free. Freedom is already yours, and silence is now your crown. Wear it boldly. Let it speak. Let it shield. Let it stand tall in rooms where words would only water weeds. Because heaven is cultivating a garden in your soul, and no rumor can uproot what was divinely planted. Beloved child, there are doors in your life that did not slam. They slipped away, quietly, without warning, without permission. And for days, weeks, maybe even months, you've looked back at them and wondered, why didn't I get to choose when it ended? Why didn't you get a farewell? Why didn't they explain? Why did it end in fragments, in silence, in such a hollow way? My dear one, it ended that way because heaven ended it. Not to hurt you, but to protect you from what your heart refused to see. There are relationships that became liabilities to your soul, not because you didn't love purely, but because they did not. You poured in spirit, they drank in silence. You showed grace, they calculated advantage, and though your hope tried to mask their harm, heaven saw through it, and so heaven moved, quickly, clearly, completely. You didn't get a say, because heaven didn't need your agreement to begin your rescue. I know that's hard to hear, because part of you still wants answers, still craves context, still aches to explain or understand. But there is no wisdom in revisiting places that heaven has already condemned as unsafe. Listen now, this is important. You have not been abandoned. You have been extracted, taken from a space that no longer held your purpose, lifted from a bond that no longer served your growth, delivered from an energy that no longer aligned with your rising frequency. It wasn't punishment. It was preservation, and that hollow ending, that ache that came without warning. It was mercy dressed in suddenness. If heaven had let it drag out longer, you might have stayed. You might have tried again. You might have sacrificed your own clarity for temporary company. And so heaven cut it clean. Child, you were not meant to spend another season confused. You were not meant to keep deciphering mixed signals, translating silence into sincerity. The inconsistency you endured was never love. It was a signal, a warning. And you heard it, but your heart needed time. So heaven gave you one final wave of exposure, one last interaction, one last hollow reply, one last moment where their absence spoke louder than any excuse. And in that moment, heaven acted. What you're mourning now is not just loss. It is the relocation of your spirit. You've been reassigned, not geographically, but spiritually. You are no longer available to conversations that question your worth. You are no longer reachable by voices that once distorted your light. You've been moved. And with that move comes the discomfort of silence, of empty spaces, of unanswered questions. But hear me, beloved, not all silence is abandonment. Some silence is divine insulation, a shield, a layer of protection against the noise that used to steal your focus. Archangel Michael speaks now. I shielded you without asking first, because what was coming would have broken you before it could bless you. Heaven stepped in, not because you were weak, but because you were too strong to stay bound. You had outgrown the vibration. You had surpassed the alignment. Your light had made the shadows nervous, and so they began to dim your joy, one comment at a time, one sigh at a time, one withheld celebration at a time. But heaven said no more. You don't owe an apology for how fast you grew. You don't need to explain why your soul demanded more. Let them misread your exit. Let them create their version of events. Heaven knows the real one, and the real version, it ends in your freedom. Now, listen carefully. This next part may sting. You've prayed for healing, but healing often begins with honesty. So let's be honest together. You stayed longer than you should have. You tolerated more than you were built to carry. You confused attachment with covenant. You called compromise compassion. And heaven let it go on, until now, because you are ready. Ready to release what was never secured in truth. Ready to walk in rooms where your name won't be mishandled. Ready to love without leaking. Ready to stand in spaces that don't ask you to prove your worth at the door. And so the door has closed. Silently, completely. Mercifully, let it stay closed, even if they call, even if they text, even if they come back with familiar words and practiced apologies. Heaven did not shut that door for it to be reopened by memory. You have crossed a spiritual threshold, one that your past can no longer access, one that your peace now protects. You are no longer waiting for their understanding. You are walking in heaven's endorsement. Let your silence be your confirmation. Let your stillness be your sword. There is nothing left for you behind that door. Only repetition, only delay, only confusion wearing new clothes. But ahead of you there is clarity, there is light, there is rest. You have earned this stillness. Now protect it, and remember, just because you didn't choose the ending doesn't mean it wasn't the right one. Heaven chose it, and heaven does not make mistakes. Beloved one, I know your heart still turns when you think of what used to be. You replay the last moments, the final words, the silence that followed. You wonder if it could have been different, if you missed something, if this pain could have been avoided. But I must tell you with holy certainty, this pain was not an accident. It was alignment. You weren't left behind. You were pulled ahead. And what feels like rejection, what feels like abandonment, what feels like the unraveling of what you once trusted is actually the unraveling of what was never rooted in truth. Child, there is something you must understand. You cannot build a divine future on a foundation of false agreements. And what you lost was never yours to keep. It was never sealed in purpose. It was sustained by tolerance, not alignment. I know that's hard to hear, because your love was real, your loyalty was honest, your prayers were sincere, but theirs weren't. There were hidden motives, unspoken doubts, half-hearted commitments that your spirit sensed, but your heart silenced. You told yourself, they're just struggling. They need more time. They'll see me eventually. But the truth, beloved, is that they saw you the whole time and still chose distance, still chose dishonor, still chose doubt. Archangel Michael speaks now. They didn't misunderstand you. They misused the grace you gave them. And heaven saw it all. Every moment you kept silent to keep the peace. Every time you swallowed truth to preserve connection. Every sacrifice made in the name of love that was never returned in kind. This wasn't mutual. It was one-sided surrender, and now heaven is calling you back to balance. Yes, it hurts, but pain is not the proof of punishment. Pain is the place where purpose is rerouted. You are not being buried by this. You are being planted, and what grows from here will not be fragile. It will not be dependent on the approval of the people who couldn't carry your calling. It will be strong, steady, silent at times, but unshakable, because now you know. You know what it feels like to pour without return, to give without being held, to speak truth in rooms full of passive dishonesty. And yet, you kept loving, you kept hoping, you kept believing. That's why you're still standing, and that's why heaven is not finished with you yet. There are seeds in your soul that could only crack open under pressure. There is revelation being born from this rupture. You are not just losing, you are being shaped into someone who will not repeat what broke you, shaped into someone who now discerns before they decide, shaped into someone who no longer chases closeness at the cost of clarity. This is the transformation, and with it comes a shift in your posture. You are no longer begging to be seen, you are choosing to remain aligned. Some will notice, some will sense the change, and in their fear, they may reach back. But hear me now. The same hand that dropped you is not the hand that will lift you. Do not return for the closure that heaven already sealed. Do not seek explanations from those who benefited from your silence. They didn't care when you were breaking. They only care now that you're building. They didn't reach when you cried. They only reach now because they sense your distance. But you are not distant, you are delivered, and what was once your weakness has become your boundary. Your no is now sacred. Your peace is now protected. Your time is now filtered through wisdom. And your presence is no longer freely available to confusion. This is spiritual maturity. You're not bitter, you're better. You're not cold, you're called. You're not detached. You're devoted to truth, and the truth is, what they thought would crush you has only clarified your vision. Let this be your confirmation. You are not the one who failed to love. You are the one who loved even when it hurt, even when it wasn't seen, even when it wasn't reciprocated. And now you're being rewarded, not with revenge, but with release. The burden of holding it all together is no longer yours to carry. Heaven has taken over. Archangel Michael speaks once more. This chapter ends with your elevation, not your explanation. You owe no one your story. The fruit of your healing will speak for itself. Let them wonder why you're glowing. Let them speculate about your joy. Let them question your peace. You don't need to clarify, because your light will testify. The ones who misread, you'll watch you rise, not to prove them wrong, but to prove that God never left you, that every tear you cried was collected, that every rejection was repurposed, that every silence was sacred. So now, breathe. Stand up in the truth of your becoming. This pain did not define you. It refined you. And what's coming next will make sense of everything you just survived. Beloved one, this moment may feel like it has broken you, but I am here to tell you, you are not broken. You are being revealed. What shattered was not your soul, but the shell that could no longer contain your truth. You see, child, heaven never called you to stay small. You were never meant to stay in rooms where your name was questioned, where your vision was ridiculed, where your silence was mistaken for weakness. And now, heaven has allowed the shaking, not to destroy you, but to strip away what cannot go with you. You've lost something, yes. Someone walked away, something ended. But what you thought was the death of your peace was actually the birth of your power. You are not under judgment. You are under refinement. Heaven is not punishing you. Heaven is positioning you. This fire you feel, it's not hell, it's a forge, and you are being made new. Archangel Michael speaks now. Do not confuse your trial with your verdict. You are not condemned. You are being carved into clarity. Everything that has left you was meant to leave. Not because you were unworthy, but because your worth made them uncomfortable. The weight they carried was not yours to hold. The loyalty you gave was not meant to be recycled. It was meant to be redeemed. And that is what is happening now. Your loyalty is not being ignored. It is being reinvested into places that will treasure it, into connections that won't require shrinking, into relationships that carry the same divine DNA as your calling. Child, do not resist the emptiness. Do not fill the void with familiar confusion. This emptiness has purpose. It is the breath before breakthrough. The silence you're walking through right now is not heaven abandoning you. It is heaven surrounding you. Every whisper of doubt, every lie spoken in secret, every manipulation dressed in sweetness. Heaven saw it all, and instead of giving you justice, through vengeance, heaven gave you justice through exodus. You have been pulled out, not because you are less, but because you are now too much for where you once fit. They didn't push you out. Heaven pulled you forward. This pain isn't proof of failure. It's confirmation of forward motion. Let me say it again, so your spirit receives it fully. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. Prepared to walk into rooms where your name has already been spoken in honor. Prepared to carry a mantle that your past couldn't comprehend. Prepared to pour into others from a cup no longer cracked. And yes, I know you're tired. Yes, I know. You've been faithful, yes. I know you've stayed silent longer than you wanted to. You've watched others lie, twist, pretend, while you sat in obedience. But look now, look at your heart, it's still whole. Your peace, though fragile, is still intact, and your spirit, more discerning than ever. You have not lost, you have outlived, and what remains after the storm is you, standing in strength that wasn't learned through ease, but forged in fire. Beloved, I speak this with divine clarity. They will remember the way you left, silent, resolved, wrapped in grace, and they will remember how heaven lifted you while they whispered against you, but you will not remember them in bitterness. You will remember them in gratitude, because had they stayed, you would have stayed too, and that would have cost you your destiny. Now, the road ahead is clear, not without hardship, but without illusion. You see the truth now. You know what energy to avoid. You know what peace feels like. You know what confusion disguises itself as, and more than that, you know what you are worth. You are worth prayers that don't leave you feeling forgotten. You are worth conversations that leave your soul still, not scattered. You are worth a love that does not compete with your calling. You are worth the rebuild, and heaven is rebuilding you. Now not back into the old you, but forward into the one you were always meant to become. So do not go looking for what was lost. Do not dig through ashes to find what already burned. Do not reread old messages hoping for something new. That chapter closed with heaven's seal. And what is sealed by heaven cannot be reopened by man. Let your next breath be sacred. Let it be a declaration. I accept the removal. I honor the preparation. I embrace the unknown with holy courage. Archangel Michael declares once more, the loss you thought would ruin you has unlocked the gate to your restoration. Now is not the time to explain. Now is the time to embody, to walk with stillness, to move with grace, to breathe with authority. You are not waiting for a second chance. You are already walking in it. Everything ahead of you, the connections, the clarity, the calling, is waiting for you to take this final step of trust. So take it now. Don't look back. Don't hesitate. You are not what you've endured. You are what you've emerged from, and what you're stepping into next is not random. It's written, it's righteous, and it's ready. Let heaven finish what it started in you, and may this final closure bring you the peace you never found in explanation. You are sealed. You are safe. You are sent. The punishment was never real, only the preparation was, and now you are prepared.